mistake about this story that we sometimes overlook. Sometimes people think that he had like big loaves of fish, or big loaves of fish. Right, that would be really great. That's because if you live in Minnesota, you have food and fish, and that's something totally, never mind. Okay, so, but he had these big loaves of bread, and he had all these fish that he had. No. Well, this boy had a barley loaf. They're little crackers. What this boy was carrying around was the food of a poor boy. This was food that a poor boy had. That people with no money, that didn't have anything left to him, but this is what he could have, and he could stick in his pocket and take with him that day. He wasn't wealthy. He didn't come from a well-established home. We didn't know what he had, but he didn't have much. All he had for that day were a couple crackers and a couple little tiny little dried fish. And he puts them in his pocket. And what I love, and I think what he needs to tell all of us, is that everyone in this room, you have something of value. Do you know that? I want you to look at somebody next to you. Look at the person that's sitting next to you. And I want you to tell them, you, come on, say it loud, you have something of value. Now, some of you guys are going, yeah, maybe them, but not me, right? We think, well, they've got all the talent. They can sing, they can dance, they can draw, they're articulate, they can say things. I don't have the talent. I don't have the value. But the thing I love about the story is everybody, absolutely everybody has something of value. No matter what's happening, we have something in our lives that is valued. Martin Luther, the guy that lived like before Dr. Martin Luther King, and he got his name from, okay, so way back. Way back in the day, he tells a story of when he used to teach, there was an old German school teacher, I jumped ahead of myself in the story. He used to, every time he came into his school, he would bow down to his readers. Every time. He would walk into his class, his young boys, and he would bow down to him. And people used to ask him, why do you do that? They're just little boys, why do you bow down to them? He goes, because you never know what one of them might become. And one of the students in his class was Martin Luther. Became one of the people that changed the world, that changed the way that we approach God and think about God's grace and God's love. I remember years ago I was been a youth pastor. I was a youth pastor in Nebraska, and I've been other places in Wisconsin. And I remember I had this one particular boy in our youth group. We had a big youth group, and we had one particular boy. I remember I noticed him because, and one of the things I remembered about him is he never talked. Never talked. He was from a very lower class family. In fact, he got on the bus. Okay, he got on the bus to come to church, and somebody else would come and pick him up. And he would come week after week, pretty much always wearing the same clothes every time that he came. And I remember Stan was the same. I talked with Stan, and I tried to joke around with Stan. I just loved being just kind of silly and just joking. And Stan would just look at me, and every once in a while I'd get him to crack a smile, but I couldn't get him to talk. Because I hardly ever heard one thing come out of his mouth. And years had gone by after I'd seen Stan, and Stan had been a part of our group, and he came week after week after week after week. And a few years back, through like Facebook kind of thing, all of a sudden I get this message from Stan. He goes, Pastor Brian, I don't know if you remember me, but this is Stan. I came to your youth group. I'm like, Stan, absolutely, I remember you. I remember where you lived, I remember this, and telling all these things. And I go, tell me what's happening with your life. He goes, you know, I'm now a U.S. Marshal. And I'm serving my country. And he starts saying all these different things that he's done with his life. And he was one of the boys that everybody else overlooked. Everybody else said, he's not going to amount to anything. Look, he's got no background, his parents are a mess, his family's a mess, but God didn't look past him. So you might be sitting here tonight going, well, what do I have for value? Yeah, I might have some dreams, but I don't have anything worth anything to give to this. The truth is, you have got more in you than you realize. When we're willing to put it in God's hands and willing to say, God, here is my dream. God, I want you to take it. I want you to take it. See, the problem is I think so many of us in this room, your memories are bigger than your dreams. Your memories, you have things that you've done before that people have told you about yourself, and the memory of what they've told you has become so big that that's all you carry around with you. And you don't have any room in your pocket for even just a little bit of a dream. And my goal and my prayer tonight, guys, in the next few minutes, is that your dreams become bigger than your memories. You guys, your dreams need to become bigger than your memories, and you start seeing things bigger than what you had before. See, when you start dreaming and you start looking past your memories, they don't hold you back anymore. All of a sudden, something new happens, and you start looking for opportunities. And what I love with this little boy is he started listening for things that were around him. He had his own little pocket full of dreams, right? It wasn't much. It was a couple crackers and a little tiny couple little fish. He could have held that to himself, but all of a sudden he heard something. He heard somebody saying, people need food. And Philip is, when Jesus asks Philip about it, he gets all sarcastic like most of us, right? We see a problem, what do most of us do? I hope somebody does something about that. There's a problem. Somebody should do something. There's just a problem. And if they don't fix it, they should fix it. How many guys have that? You have the gift of sarcasm. How many can say stuff sarcastic, like, really well? Okay, all right. I've got a pretty good too sometimes. It's like we say things and we're like Philip. And Philip in the story of that gift, he's like, there's a need. There's no way we can meet this need. We would have to work all week, all month, all year to feed all of these people. And we can't do it. And Andrew's listening, and all of a sudden Andrew's listening. The way I picture the story, and we don't know for sure, but the way I picture it is all of a sudden this little boy leans over to Andrew and says, I got some food. And Andrew might have been in a joke or it might have been serious, but all of a sudden he comes to Jesus and goes, hey Jesus, little boy's got some food. What can we do? Because see, the little boy was listening. He was listening for the needs that are around him. And if you're not paying attention to where the needs are, you might never ever see those dreams fulfilled. But guys, when you listen and you respond to those needs, incredible things can happen. When I was growing up, in my neighborhood, we played baseball all the time. That was the sport, okay? So in our neighborhood, we just played a lot of baseball. In fact, the street that I lived on, we had a big church that was a big Catholic church that was right next to us. That's where I went to school for a lot of elementary school. I went to school there. And so there would be like the neighbors in my neighborhood. It was my house first, and then John's house, and then Jeff's house, and then it was Chris's house. And a bunch of us, we would get together and we would all play baseball, like every night during the summer. That's what we'd do. We'd go over in the front yard of the church, and we'd be up there and we'd just start playing. We'd be small teams, we'd just hit, we'd run, and it would be crazy. So there'd be times we'd be playing ball. And one of those nights we'd be up there, and it could be somebody in the middle of a pitch and ready just to smack it, right? Just kind of helping each other out, just having some fun. And all of a sudden, it would be like, I don't know if you ever watched one of those documentaries, Nature Channel, and you just see this quiet field. And all of a sudden, all these deer heads start popping up out of anywhere. And they just start looking around and boom, they all bolt. Well, that's kind of what would happen. We would all be playing baseball, and all of a sudden we'd look at, all of a sudden it could even just be a pitch coming, you're ready to hit it. We would drop the bat. We would all look up. We'd look at each other. And we would take off running with everything that we had to try to get back to our house as soon as we could. There was something, if you watched it from a distance, it would be the funniest thing in the world, because all of a sudden you got all of our faces just go pure white, and terror would grip us, and we would take off running full speed towards our houses. And if we were lucky, we would get home and be able to get home in time to dive down into our basements and lock the doors behind us before around the corner would come the garbage truck. Because in my neighborhood, I had the world's meanest garbage man. Like the meanest garbage man on the planet. Okay, this is back in our neighborhood didn't have this claw that came out, and grabbed the little thing and dumped it in. These were the garbage guy that rode on the back of the truck and grabbed everything and threw it in. And we were convinced that he threw little